And welcome back to another episode of the Game Engine series. So today is a pretty cool episode. We're going to be upgrading from Zig 0.15 to 0.16. So why are we doing this? Well, I've been doing a lot of work on the packages and libraries that we're going to use for the game engine. And I've just been developing them in 0.16 and I found it's quite fun. It's nice to be the latest Zig. And if we want to start using them sooner, then we need to upgrade. There's also been quite a few people asking to upgrade, so 0.16 is still not fully released. It's in a nightly build. You can just get the latest master build. So there could be bugs, so take this with caution. If you're deploying any production system, you probably don't want to use it because, again, there could be bugs, but we're still early in this game engine. Why not use the latest and greatest? Gives us access to I/O and just really lets us, like I said, use latest and greatest. So there isn't actually going to be very much work we have to do because the bulk of the work came from the glfw package we're using not being on Zig 0.16, but I went through the work and upgraded that and helped contribute to that project. So there's a version that we can use that we will use in this episode. So it'll be pretty easy. We'll just switch our Zig version, which if you're using ZVM, very easy, or any other Zig version manager. Then two, we will just try and build it to show you guys what happens. Obviously it fails. So then we'll upgrade our glfw package, and then there's just a few small code changes to migrate. It's actually quite easy. There's not that many code changes that we need personally because it's not that big of a code base yet. So yeah, it's not going to actually take that long. But then just to kind of give more content, I'm going to show how if you're using ZLS with Mason, you can't use the 0.16 ZLS with Mason because Mason only lets you install 0.15 or the latest. So I show you how to manually override that and manually build ZLS locally so you have better autocomplete moving forward. And then, because just to throw it in, I wanted to show how to write unit tests in Zig and then start to get that set up so we can start running tests and getting things a little bit more automated, which we want this to be a production system. So let's write unit tests. Let's make sure we're doing things properly. We're not going to write every unit test on video. It's tedious, it's long. I want to be writing code on live that you guys can follow along and write, and it's progressing the game engine. So I write a couple unit tests by hand to show you guys how easy it is, but then I just paste in a bunch, and I highly recommend all of you to go check out the branch, see it, write it yourselves, add any tests if you think it's lacking, and also just try and find tests for other areas. We're gonna actually have probably a dedicated episode showing how to properly do kind of integration tests or end-to-end tests with glfw, that kind of stuff, which it's going to be quite a bit of work, but I want to get it done. Like I said, I want this to be a production system. So we're going to do a pretty big refactoring episode coming soon-ish to show how to, we do the refactoring to split glfw so we can stub it, and then we can write tests that pull everything together. But yeah, if you're excited, like, subscribe, really anything helps. Hope people enjoy this episode. I know it's not really game engine development this episode, but it's just maintenance, it's upgrading. Personally, I find that fun and interesting, especially with something like Zig, where hopefully this won't be the last upgrade episode I make. Yeah, hope you enjoy. All right, so promise Zig 0.16, I'm going to show how to upgrade us there. So the first thing we need to do is, if you see right there, you can also just do Zig version. We're at 0.15.2 right now. If you're using ZVM, you can just do CVM install master. And after that's done, you can just do CVM use master. So now if we look up here, we're on the latest 0.16 dev branch. Very handy if you're using ZVM, highly recommend it. Not, I think it's just cvm.app. You can go check them out. Yeah, it's the version manager I prefer to use. I have a video on it if you want to check that out, but let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to do is, well, try and run our code. So now we run, it's going to try and recompile. And I just want to kind of walk through the process of what this looks like. Okay, so we see you might have this. So the first thing we're going to have to do is actually upgrade our glfw version. Here's the command. I'll put it down in the description to make sure you can copy and paste it. Looks scary. All it's doing is referencing the proper commit that we want that has changes. So let's just run that. And I already ran it right for this, but it should say overriding and updating. Now let's do a Zig build run and try and find the next problem. Okay, nice. So now we see we made a patch glfw, and now there are some problems. So one, we can see the sc.once is no longer there. This is unfortunate. It seems like it's been removed. That's okay. We can make it an actual singleton now. It's not that much work. I thought it was just a cool feature when I used it. Again, it's not really that hard. So let's go over and let's go down to get instance. I guess we'll get rid of the ones. And now we can just do this. If instance equals null, we can just do this. Say instance equals that. No longer need that init function. And now we have the same thing. The other way was thread safe. Could also re-implement it. There wasn't very much code there, but it's just not that big a deal to me, really. And there actually was one thing that I had found that's a bug. So when we go to mouse released, instead of press buttons, this was supposed to be release buttons. So if you got that, shout out to you if anyone did. But one thing I noticed. Yeah, so now that that's fixed, let's try and rebuild. So we still see some errors. If we scroll all the way to the top, we see the sc.once is no longer there, but we do see an error over in our log file. So let's go over and check that out. And I encourage everyone to try and do this themselves first. Try and see if you can figure out what's going on, what's wrong. But yeah, so what it actually is now lock std error, and instead of writer, and this is just unlock std error. And then instead of print, it's going to be file writer interface. Now that should be dot print. So just a couple errors there. So now if we try and run, that is actually it. So if you look around, you can see we have exactly what we had before. That's pretty cool. It's nice because now we're at the latest Zig. But one thing I will go over too, if we look, again, just do a restart, like lad dot, nothing is here. So there are a couple of things, again, just trying to restart a couple times. So you see, don't really have intelligence. It's annoying. It really, really is annoying. So I'm gonna show a trick to fix that. So coming over to just a random branch, you can really do this anywhere. If you're on Fedora or on Linux, it's probably very similar to you. If you're on Mac or Windows, it might be a little different, but I'm just gonna quickly show how to get the latest CLS if you're using something like LazyVim. Because if I go over to Mason, which is how I have it installed, we can see it's going to be for 0.15 because Mason only installs, it doesn't install nightly. So one thing we're going to do is if we just run this, we clone ZLS and build it. Just take a few seconds, be back when it's done. All right, we're all done there. So now we can run this command, which again, paths could change. So we're going to copy the new ZLS binary we just locally installed and put it in where ZLS is. Oh yeah. So one thing you can see, it says it's busy. So just close any editor that could be using ZLS and then try again. So one problem if you're having trouble with the Zig build check command, if for some reason things weren't working, just remove that Zig package directory and rerun Zig build check. And we can actually see that directory right there. We want to quickly add it to our git ignore because we don't want it. But now if we go over to C, just let it load. And we can see Glad's black back to being blue. So we go over to shader, we can see we have all our commands again. So everything is all nice and happy here. Nice. So one other thing I actually want to do that we haven't shown is unit testing and CI. So come down to the bottom here and do const lib unit test. So this is going to be a module just like any other thing, except it'll be a little different. So here it's called add test. Root module be create module dot root source file equals b.path source / root dot zig dot target equals target and dot optimize equals optimize. Nice. And then we're going to do the exact same things we've already done in the past. Instead of lib check, it'll be lib unit tests, and then const test step equals b dot step call test, which that's what matches up unit tests. And we will run these. We'll add some tests in this episode just for a couple places. Dot depend on run. Oops, I forgot to actually add this one in. Test dot step the const run lib unit test equals b dot add run artifact, and then that will have the lib unit tests. So that's all used. So make sure you add all this in. And right now we have no actual tests. So if we run that, let's see, lib unit tests dot root, root module, root module. Did I have a typo there? So right now if we run it, and I do encourage doing summary-all, we can see glfw is running its test. So when you run it, it'll include all that, but we haven't written our own test, so there's not much there. So then yeah, let's write our first test. So I'm gonna do an easy one like time and just show you how to write a test in Zig. So it's actually quite easy. Just make this a little bit bigger. Do time initialization. So that's just the name of the test. Then we can create time done it. And now let's just do this. So there's the testing package where it has a bunch of different expects, kind of pretty similar to any other testing you'll use, any packages. It's all built in. So this is just testing that the initialization is 0. So now we see like we create a new one, it's 0, 0. It's just a simple test expecting that. So, but to make sure it runs, we do have to do a little bit. So this is root. So if we go back to this build, we see we specified the root source file as root. So going into root, you can have the test, which this is like the base test, essentially. So this is kind of just a way to make sure everything's imported and used properly. And then as you add tests and modules, you can just do, in this case, we'll do core, time.zig. So now if we do the test, that was the wrong place. Let's see if we go, might not show up very well. But one thing I do want to show is what happens if a test fails. Well, if let's say for some reason we wrote our test wrong, and now we do, just keep it not as verbose. We see here, one pass, one fail. So time core time.test initialization failed, expected 1, found 0, tells you exactly where. So if we look here, so expected 1, so as our test did, says it expects 1, but then found 0, so delta time is 0. That's all expected. So that is the basics of testing. Let's just add some more. Like I'll write another one. I'm going to paste in some for here and our input manager just to give more examples for people. It'll take quite a long time to write it all, so don't want to write them all live, just for time's sakes. Testing, but I do think it's a great exercise for people to just try and test. So as f32 0.16 time.delta time 0.001. So this is essentially saying like it expects time delta to be this value, but within this tolerance or range. So it's okay if it's off by a little bit. and the exact same thing for last frame. Go over and run that. See, test pass. So here I'm going to go in and just add a few more. So here's one. So just doing multiple updates to see how it properly sets the delta time, but then also just sets last frame properly. So that's that. And then if we do larger jumps, we can see, again, just keeping the tolerance. And then if it's identifying times, it's 0. It's pretty cool. So now, as I said, also our input manager, I'm going to add some tests. Again, I'm just going to copy these in and then you guys can check it out. Again, YT branch. So now we just go to the bottom. I always recommend putting tests at the bottom because you want all your real code at the top. But yeah. So let's just go over. I'm going to zoom out a bit to make it a little bit easier. But we can see, so input manager, again, it's a singleton. So clear will just reset everything, get the initial instance or create the instance. And now we can see we expect just some basic stuff to be 0. If we look at every key, we expect them to be false, every button to be false. So just initialization showing everything 0. And then let's see, we have a key pressed event. So we update that. So it's processing. Is that key pressed? We expect that to be true. Released is false and B pressed false. So again, if we run these, they all pass. But if we change one of them, or yeah, I guess we would expect A to be pressed. So if we run that again, we then get a test fail. Key press detection, which is this one. And then it tells us we're right here. So line 190, which is the one we're on. Put it back to B. And it's all passing. So again, there's a bunch of tests in here. Go check it out. And that was the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. And I hope it just shows how it's not actually that hard to upgrade. Yes, a lot of the work was offloaded to the packages, but it was pretty easy. Like, we didn't have to do that much to actually get it upgraded. If you run into any issues, please leave comments. Let me know. I can try and help. One thing I'm going to say right now is if things are looking weird, delete that Zig package or PKG folder and try to reinstall or rebuild. I think that one kind of has some problems or can get easily corrupted. So try that first. And if that doesn't help, leave a comment. Try to give as much detail so I can help as fast as possible. But yeah, that's all I have. Next episode will be shader uniforms, and then we'll probably do that refactoring I talked about at the beginning for unit tests, integration tests. Maybe we'll also throw in CI pretty soon. But yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Again, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Discord links down in the description. Lots of people have been joining. It's been a lot of fun to talk to you guys, and I share updates. Shared the update that how I've been working on the 0.16 upgrade early. And yeah, have a great day.